Hi guys, Sean here from DigiDirect. Today we're going to be talking about the new DJI Osmo Mobile 2. This is the newest version of their handheld gimbal stabilizer for smartphones, something that vloggers will definitely have a big interest in, really anyone who wants to get smooth, stabilized footage out of their smartphone. Now we're going to be discussing the quality of that stabilization. We're going to be discussing a number of the features of the unit, especially when you use it in conjunction with DJI's free app that you can get with it. And we're also going to start off with a comparison between the Osmo Mobile 2 and the Osmo Mobile 1, at least in terms of its physical features, because DJI has made the interesting decision to make the mobile version 2 quite a bit less expensive than the original. So when we put the two side by side, what's immediately noticeable is that the original version, which I'll call the V1 here, looks a bit sleeker than the new one. It has this nice rubberized grip that the newer one doesn't have. The newer one generally looks a little more plasticky overall. They're about the same weight. There are a few things that have been removed on the V2 as well, specifically the rosette port here to attach accessories, the trigger at the back, and the 3.5mm combination mic and charging point. Those are all on the V1 and they're gone on the V2. Another change is that the original version had a removable battery, whereas the version 2 has a built-in battery that can't be removed. However, the version 2 gains a tripod mounting port. It now allows you to mount your phone vertically as well as horizontally, which is quite important. The version 1 did not do this. It gains a more standardized charging port on the side. We gain a zoom control, as well as we have a USB port on the back that you can use to charge your phone off of the unit itself. Additionally, much of the functionality from that trigger that was on the V1 that was removed in the V2 has been transferred to the mode dial, the mode button on the V2, so it doesn't really lose much functionality there. Finally, the battery on the version 2 lasts for a whopping 15 hours. That's compared to 4.5 hours on the V1, so triple the battery life. The V2 also gains these indicator lights, which gives you a better idea of your battery life, which the V1 didn't have at all. So while the V2 maybe looks a little more plasticky overall, and there are a few elements removed, they're all non-critical removals, and it significantly gains some other features as well. And as I mentioned at the start, the benefit of all this stripping down is in the price. The Osmo Mobile 2 is about 200 bucks Australian, whereas the original version is currently about 300 bucks, and when it was first released a couple of years ago, it was quite a bit more than that. Now let's take a quick look at how to operate the Osmo Mobile 2. It's very easy to use. All you really have to do is clamp your phone in there. You can balance it a slight amount, turn the unit on, and then the gimbal motors are going to kick in and stabilize your phone. The easiest way to control the Osmo Mobile 2 is simply to angle your hand. As you move your hand around, the gimbal is going to follow your hand movements in a smooth and controlled manner. So you really just have to kind of point at something with your hand and the gimbal will follow your movements and you're good to go. This is always going to happen with the pan, meaning the left and right movement. But the tilt, the up and down movement, by default is locked, so it won't follow your movements there, although I can easily go into the app here with a couple button presses and disable that lock, so if I tilt it up and down, the tilt is going to follow my movements as well. If I do have that tilt tracking disabled, I can even twist it into flashlight style here, which is helpful if I want to get shots really close to the ground. In addition, I can use this joystick to adjust the positioning as well, so I don't have to move my hand, I can just control the joystick and I can turn it left and right, up and down, whatever I want. If I press the mode dial here once, it's going to lock the current position, meaning that the gimbal is going to keep the phone facing in one direction, and if I move, it's going to ignore my hand movements there. If I press the mode dial again, it'll come out of that mode and go into the standard mode again. If I press the mode dial twice, it's going to recenter the camera to face it straight ahead. And if I press the mode dial 3 times, it's going to switch between the front and rear cameras of your phone. So those multiple press options of the mode dial are essentially what the trigger did in the original version, which is why I'm not too fussed about the lack of the trigger on this one, as it does pretty much the same things. Finally, I have the record button here. If I'm in photo mode, pressing that is going to take a photo, and if I'm in video mode, it will start or stop recording. So how good is the Osmo Mobile 2 at providing stabilization? How well do the gimbal's motors provide you smooth footage? I'm not going to spend too much time on this because the answer here is simply that it does an excellent job. DJI has been making high quality gimbals for many years now, and that's pretty evident here. It's a super smooth experience, the footage looks great. And there's not much more to say than that. This is one of the best performing stabilizers on the market in terms of the quality of its stabilization. It just looks excellent. However, that's not the only feature of the unit, because using the associated app with the unit gives you access to a number of other cool features as well, which I'll discuss now. So when you're in photo mode, you can obviously take a standard photo, but you can also take long exposure shots, and you can also take a series of panoramas, which are extremely easy to do. When shooting video, we can either shoot standard video or slow motion, but we also have the option to shoot time-lapse, motion time-lapse, and hyperlapse. Time-lapse is pretty self-explanatory. It's just going to take a series of photos and then put them all together in one. Whereas motion lapse is that same idea, except you can choose a couple different points for the gimbal to rotate between. Finally, there's hyperlapse, which is essentially a time lapse while you're walking around. So you can just put it in here and the camera will just start taking photos, and as you walk around, then it'll stitch it all together into this really cool, interesting motion shot. Finally, we have Active Track, which is a feature that's been on a number of DJI drones in the past. This lets you simply select a subject in the frame, whether that's a person or something else, and now the gimbal is going to track that subject. So if you move around the subject, it'll keep pointing at the subject, or if the subject moves, the gimbal is going to track them. It's very, very good. It's not quite as robust as the Active Track on some of their higher end drones, but for a $200 price point product, it's a very, very good implementation of Active Track. So a new feature on the Osmo Mobile 2 is the ability to shoot vertically. The Osmo 1 couldn't do this, but now we can twist the gimbal so I can hold the phone vertically, allowing me to shoot vertical video. That's great if I want to use, Snapchat or Instagram stories or anything that requires vertical video, or if I just want to for whatever reason. I also have Active Track enabled here on my face, so I don't really even need to worry about making sure that I'm right in the frame when I'm talking to the camera, because it's tracking my face. So if I start to go off to one side, left or right, up or down, whatever, it's going to track me. So I just need to really be holding the camera and it's just going to follow me. So it's really easy to do any kind of vlog or anything of this nature. Just very, very simple. I'll also clarify that you don't need to be using the DJI Go app to use the gimbal. Obviously, not using the app means that you don't have access to some of those, Active Track and the hyperlapse and time-lapse features and so on. But there's no reason why you can't use the unit simply as a stabilizer. Put your phone in there, you can use your native camera app or any other app that you want really, and you can still use it as a stabilizer, absolutely. Overall, I think the DJI Osmo Mobile 2 is an exceptional stabilizer. It strongly excels at its core function, which is providing stabilized, smooth footage. It gives you a lot of extra features if you're using the app. It's very easy to use and set up. It's light and compact, and DJI have even lowered the price here. There's not really anything I can fault it for. If you're a vlogger who wants a small setup, or really anyone who just wants smooth, stabilized footage easily from your smartphone, definitely check out the DJI Osmo Mobile 2. Now you can order it on our website at www.digidirect.com.au, or you can get it in one of our stores. We have stores in the Sydney CBD, Bondi Junction, Miranda, Chatswood, the Brisbane and Melbourne CBD, and Cannington, Western Australia. Thanks guys, take care.